Okay, so I have a Domino 500. So yeah, I've got some nice toys, even though I'm kind of a dummy. I got a great discount at a woodworking store, so it's not a huge mystery. And then I spent some life savings, so don't tell my mom and dad. All right, anyhow, um, this is how it works. You have a board that sits here. There's a couple of angled boards and a front board where the domino goes into a pocket. And then on the back, there's going to be a support or two supports that are going to buttress. It's going to support. It's going to keep this from flexing. And then, so it's going to keep this part upright and sturdy. So I'm going to cut the corners off these things just so I don't bump into them. So that's what I'm doing over here, and that's where I'm doing some quick stuff with the match fit. This stick is just to hold this in position. This is kind of a guide thing that I made. I could use some more of them, but I haven't done it yet. And so it's just going to hold these blocks. I'm going to knock off the corners on my table saw. And once that's done, I'm going to get to work on the front. And so I got to make the pocket that the domino will plug into. It'll go on the other side, so I need to do some of that stuff just really quick. Here I am knocking off the corners real quick. I've got it set up. That's a stop block. It's been less than 3 minutes since I cut these off, and I've already set this up to knock that off, that off, that off, and that off, just to round it out. In case I router it, just be a little bit nicer shape. So anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. Again, micro jig, match fit stuff, super fast. Awesome system. Here I am knocking the ears off the main board just to make it, I don't know, with less ears, I guess. There's a nub on the bottom of the Festool domino, and it has to go into a slot to accommodate it. So I actually want a cut on the other side there, and I've got the saw blade down. I think it's at a decent distance, or up, but just a little bit. So it's a partial cut, not all the way through. But I'm just gonna stick it in by hand and cut that shape a little, just create a little channel in there. Okay, so I have to admit, this is the Shinwa, there it is, Shinwa strange square from Japan. Woodcraft sells it. I just thought it was cool looking, and I like Japanese stuff. But I gotta say, it has a big, broad foot here and a nice tall edge there. And so for setting a table saw, especially one where you have these rinky-dink insert plates, you can see the flex. Look at that thing bounce. So in the case of that, I've got a great big foot here and a nice clear edge to set the blade. Same thing here. I'm trying to set this just so I don't have to take out my fence. The fence is tucked underneath and I got a bunch of junk in the way. But what I need to do is just knock off about 3.5 inches of this board for my project, and I just want to set this square. And so super easy to use. I find it sets up accurately. As far as I know, it's square. Both sides are good. So yeah, that's what's up. I'm just using my square, and I'm going to cut off 2 blocks, and then I'm going to have to put a tiny angle on them, and then I'm going to have a piece of wood that matches. So that's going to go on here. There's going to be another one right here. They're going to have a bit of an angle, and then they're going to have a piece up here, and that's what's going to accommodate the taper in the handle of the domino. So that's what's going on. Okay, so I have to say, whatever this thing costs, it was like $900. I think the set's like $1,200 American. It seems kind of preposterous that I'm going to take some crappy plywood that isn't even good Baltic birch, but I'm going to get the maximum use out of this very expensive piece of German machinery by gluing together some crappy wooden blocks. So the irony is blowing my mind. But that aside, I'm going to explain where I'm at. The domino has this curve right here, so I just took a file, combination rasp and file, and got that to kind of nestle into that. And so I need to make sure I maintain the right angle, because there is a bit of a taper to the barrel of the handle here. So they don't go straight, they kind of tip in a little bit. So that would be straight. This is where they need to be. So that's that part. And then there's a ridge here. There's a ridge here and on the other side. So I need to center a piece. And I thought I'd run it up to this because there's a pretty stiff shelf to hit here. But I cut a channel here, expecting to run into the bottom of the trigger. But actually these wings land right in this pocket here and there. Apparently there's a fastener in there. What was trickier was I needed to, yeah, I know it's beautiful, isn't it? It's I needed to get this groove right here. There's a little bit of a ramp, and so this needs to be notched up if you do what I'm doing to fit, so that it will sit flat on here, and then the domino will nestle underneath. It'll tuck into that groove. So that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. I have to try not to get glue all over my domino, but I am lining the bottom of this up, this edge, the dark plastic, right with the top of that thing, and then that little nub right there, that little bump, that goes into that kerf cut that I put in with a table saw. So it goes, that's how where I'm lining up, and how I'm lining it up is even, so you've got an idea what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put a little glue on there, and then I'm going to use my trusty jar of garbage fasteners, and I'm going to use the flatter side with the lid, and I might even put an intermediary block in there to just spread the pressure. But anyways, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on these guys on the bottom. I'm going to line them up and just let everything kind of set, and then I'm going to run screws into everything in the morning. So or later tonight, but probably in the morning. So I'm feeling pretty good about this, and I think it's going to work. I cut it a little bit shorter than some other dock designs because I wanted to make sure that this is breathing down here. So I think this will be enough support once it's all reinforced. So anyways, that's the plan. We'll see how it goes, and if it falls off the table, I'm a horrible failure, because if I drop this thing, I can't afford to fix it. So fingers crossed. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. See if I glued my domino to some cheap piece of plywood. Nope, slipped right out. Just slide it in, and it looks like it's sitting there. So that's a start. So I guess the next thing to do is to reinforce it. I don't know if I want to put some dowels, maybe a nice hardwood. What's that? That's not round. All right, well, I'll figure something out. So I'm going to reinforce it through here, boom, 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 and come through the back, boom, 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 boom. And then I have to attach a plate on the back, which is this guy with the stabilizers, or the flying buttresses, as it were. So yeah, that's what's going on. Just got to do it. Okay, so this is all holding together and looking pretty good. There was a gap under here, and I'm going to pull this out. So as you can see, there's some space under here. I don't know if it matters, but I measured it, and this is 1/4 inch plywood, I think, which means it's barely a 1/4 of an inch. It's not probably a 1/4 inch, but I measured it so it would slip into that space, and then it seems to run in there and then kind of stop at about that point. So I'm going to cut it and then just glue that into place also. I'm actually going to clamp it with a domino probably, which is, I think, funny. But yeah, anyways, what I need to do is just probably cut this little piece off to clean it up. And then I think it's, well, you know, I might put some screws in here. I might put some oak dowels to dress it up. But honestly, I might go, you know, with the more steampunk square drive screws and just get it done. Not drywall. I have a problem with drywall Did a lot of bad stuff with drywall screws, and I think this deserves more. So, anyways, I'm going to cut this. It's really weird cutting plywood that's this thin, but I'm going to try to do it because it just kind of flops around if you clamp it in the bench. So, anyways, I'm gonna get on that, and yeah, just glue that filler into place after dinner. I'm gonna put screws into everything tonight, I think, and then I'll attach. This is that back rail. Funny thing happened. These are the supports, so these are the buttresses. They'll help support the back. So I ran this cut in, and then I flipped it over thinking, well, I'll just cut it again, and it'll match up. This is how little I know about geometry. And so here's my short side, but then here's my long side. It ended up the opposite because it just keeps, this is farther in, so it makes a deeper cut. And if you flip it over again, I'll just keep on making a deeper cut, and it'll just get goofier and goofier. So I'm just going to go with it because I'm a dummy. But yeah, exciting stuff. Looking forward to seeing this work because I think it'll be a super workhorse actually once I get it going for small piece work, which is, there's a lot of stuff on these guys where it might just be easier to do the legs if I can get the dock, not dock, but the holster, the Domino holster to work, the holster with the molster. That was terrible. All right, I got to be done with this. Okay, so this is the glue, and then this is the back piece. I should probably figure out which side I want up. Probably the prettier bright side. So anyways, let's go this way. I think it's a better cut. So this guy is going to just get touched on there and wiggle back and forth. And then so once that either gets clamped, probably clamped, I'll do all the screw assembly tomorrow or run pegs into it. This only takes about 20 minutes to cure, so I might work on it tonight, but I might not. So I'm going to clamp this up, and then there's the flying buttresses. So these supports will go in the back. I'm going to get them far enough away from the box in front that I can run a screw in there and in here. And then it's pretty much done. Once the glue sets, I just shoot a bunch of screws into it, and it should be pretty solid. So, yeah, dig it. It's coming together. Okay, somewhere under there is my Domino holster for quick draws and other stuff. So, anyways, there's the box part. Where's my finger? There's my finger. Domino goes in there, facing that way. So these are the flying buttresses all glued on. Just waiting for screw reinforcement. I'll do that in the morning after this is cured out. So yeah, it's real close to being something. So let's see, I've got 3 clamps holding the cross piece down. It'll get clamped on this end and then the other end. And then these are the supports. And so I went with 2 of them, one here and one over there to prevent twisting. At least I think I did. I mean, this is 5/8. It's not quite 3/4, but I think this is plenty rigid enough. So I don't know. I know. I guess I could stick a cross piece over here to reinforce it further, but it's probably okay. So we'll see. If it falls off the table, we know it didn't have enough going for it. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so that is about the center of this one, and that is about the center of this one. And so I drew a line just so I could kind of keep track. And then I kind of eyeballed where these would go. So generally it's underneath that guy, and then a couple extra for redundancy. I wouldn't overbuild something this much usually, but since it's a like a $1,200 tool, it's going to be sitting on top of it. I figure the overkill is probably not enough. So that's what I'm doing with that. And so anyways, I've got some, let's see where they go. I got some long screws here. These are kind of salvage screws, but it's nice and bright. It's still kind of that drywall vibe, but not entirely. So that's what I want to put in here after I hit it with my trusty little baby rigid drill and a little countersinking tool on the end. So time to work. Okay, so here's what's going on. I've got my Domino holster, and it seems to hold it. I think I've got room for the hose. That looks like it. And then plugs good underneath, and no wiggle. So anyways, yeah, time to get this thing set up. I got to swap out the cutter and get a little smaller cutter in there. But I think we're ready to do some business here. So yeah, excited to see how this thing works. Yeah, thank you, Peanut Gallery.